the most brilliant strategist I know." Julian Thorne's voice cut through the gallery's polite murmur, his words a shock wave in the rarefied air. His eyes, sharp and discerning, swept over Marcus's stunned group, reading the malice in their frozen smiles. A hush fell over the room. The woman in the shimmering gold dress froze mid-sip. Marcus's face went slack, the condescending smirk vanishing from his lips. Where are you tuning in from tonight? Let us know your city in the comments below. Do you think Ilara will overcome this public humiliation? Or will the shadows of her past hold her back? Don't forget to subscribe to follow every step of this incredible journey. A brilliant mind in a simple black hoodie, ridiculed by her past. What secrets will be exposed? What power will be unleashed? Stay with us to see how quiet strength becomes the loudest voice in the room. Let us know where you're watching from, and let's get into this story of vindication and victory. The city's lights bled through the panoramic windows of the art gallery, transforming the downtown skyline into a sprawling tapestry of neon and shadow. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and ambition, a space where fortunes were brokered over abstract sculptures and hushed conversations. This was the annual Benefactors Gala, a theater for the city's financial titans. And at its edge, a quiet anomaly, stood Ilara. In her late 20s, Ilara was a data analyst whose reputation was a quiet but powerful current in the tech world. Her simple black hoodie and dark jeans were a stark statement against the backdrop of couture gowns and bespoke tuxedos. A single silver ring was her only adornment, catching the light as she observed the room, her expression calm, her posture radiating a stillness that was both unnerving and magnetic. She wasn't here for the champagne or the canapes. Julian Thorne, the enigmatic founder of the hosting firm, had invited her personally to discuss a senior strategist role. But his flight was delayed, leaving Ilara adrift in a sea of pinstriped sharks. She leaned against a marble pillar, a glass of water in her hand, her mind cataloging the power dynamics at play. She was accustomed to the dismissive glances, the subtle sneers. She had built a career on being underestimated, her quiet focus a shield against the noise of prejudice. Then, a familiar grating laugh cut through the chatter. Marcus, her ex from university, standing with a circle of slick, self-satisfied colleagues, he hadn't changed. The same cruel glint in his eye, the same arrogant tilt to his chin. Their breakup had been a quiet escape from his narcissism and infidelity. She hadn't seen him in years, hadn't realized he worked for one of Thorne's portfolio companies. His gaze met hers, and a slow, predatory smile spread across his face. He swaggered toward her, his entourage in tow. "Ilara," he said, his voice loud enough for those nearby to turn. "I'm surprised to see you here. Are you on the catering staff tonight?" His friends chuckled, a low, ugly sound. A woman in a gold dress looked her up and down. "A hoodie? At the Thorne Gala?" she whispered, her voice dripping with disdain. A man with a sloshing cocktail added, "Maybe she got lost on her way to a coating basement." The laughter grew, sharp and isolating. Ilara's jaw tightened, but her face remained an unreadable mask. She had faced down hostile venture capitalists and skeptical board members. This was nothing. Their barbs were built on assumptions she was about to shatter. "I'm a guest, Marcus," she said, her voice even and firm, each word a carefully placed stone. "Just like you." Her eyes held his, a silent challenge. The air crackled with tension, the onlookers drawn to the impending collision. He laughed again, a hollow, performative sound. "A guest? Come on, Elara." He leaned in, his voice a mock whisper to his friends. "Last I heard, she was freelancing for pennies. She probably sweet-talked a security guard to get in." The condescension was a poison he expertly administered. "She used to need my help just to pass her stats exams," he added, a final, cruel twist of the knife. The laughter around him swelled, a chorus of privilege. Elara's fingers tightened on her glass, the cool surface grounding her. She could dismantle him with a few sharp words, expose the insecurities that fueled his cruelty. But she chose silence, letting his pettiness hang in the air, a testament to his own smallness. She let them think they had won. Just as she was about to turn away, the main doors of the gallery swept open with a dramatic whoosh. The ambient noise died instantly. Julian Thorne had arrived. The gallery held a collective breath as Julian Thorne strode into the room, his presence an immediate shift in the atmospheric pressure. At 60, with a mane of silver hair and a suit that seemed woven from the night itself, he commanded absolute authority. His gaze swept the room once, and it was enough to silence the most powerful people in the city. Behind him, an assistant hurried to keep up, clutching a tablet like a lifeline. Elara stood by the pillar, her black hoodie and jeans now the focal point of a silent tableau. Marcus and his clique were frozen, their mockery still hanging in the air. The moment was suspended, a breath before the plunge. Thorne's sharp eyes found Elara, and his stern expression softened into a genuine warm smile. "Elara!" he boomed, his voice resonating through the hushed gallery. "My apologies for the delay. The cross-country flight was a beast." The words were simple, but their impact was a sonic boom. Heads snapped in her direction. Whispers erupted like wildfire. Marcus's condescending smirk dissolved, his face draining of color, as if he'd seen a ghost. The woman in the gold dress fumbled with her clutch, her earlier confidence gone. The man with the cocktail suddenly looked very small. Elara allowed herself a small, knowing smile, setting her water glass down on a nearby ledge. "No problem at all, Mr. Thorne," she replied, her voice clear and steady, a calm island in a sea of sudden chaos. "It's given me a chance to observe." Her eyes flickered briefly to Marcus, a silent acknowledgement of the scene that had just unfolded. The room held its breath, sensing the power shift. Thorne moved to her side, placing a hand on her shoulder in a gesture that was both a greeting and a coronation. His eyes, now hard as flint, scanned Marcus's group. "Everyone," he announced, his voice carrying an edge of iron, "I'd like you to meet Elara. She's the most brilliant strategist I know." He let the statement land, each word a hammer blow to the assumptions that had filled the room moments before. "Starting next month, she'll be leading our entire predictive analytics division. If you don't know her work, you are already behind." A thick, suffocating silence descended. The woman in gold stared intently at a painting, pretending to be absorbed. The cocktail man cleared his throat, avoiding all eye contact. Marcus was a statue of disbelief, his arms hanging limply at his sides. His friends began to melt away, distancing themselves from his catastrophic misjudgment. Thorne's hand remained on Elara's shoulder, a clear and undeniable symbol of her new status. He leaned in, his voice a low murmur just for her. "I hope my team has made you feel welcome." The question was a perfectly crafted trap. Elara met his gaze, her faint smile holding a universe of meaning. It's been very illuminating, she said, her tone soft but sharp. Thorne's jaw tightened, his eyes flicking to Marcus with chilling precision. Good, he said curtly. First thing Monday, I want you to tear apart our acquisition models. I need your eyes on them. Only yours. It was a public decree, cementing her authority. He gave her a final approving nod before moving into the crowd, his assistant trailing in his wake. The gallery slowly came back to life, but the energy was irrevocably altered. Elara was no longer an outsider. She was the new center of gravity. She turned to Marcus, who remained rooted to the spot, his bravado stripped away. "Next time you want to judge someone," she said, her voice a quiet storm, "make sure you understand their value." The words were a final, clean cut. He opened his mouth, but only a choked sound emerged. Elara walked away, the crowd parting for her as if by magic. She headed toward the vast windows, the city lights below her like a conquered kingdom. The night was hers. The gala spun on, but its rhythm now beat to her drum. She didn't look back. The weight of 100 realigned perspectives followed her every step. Months after the gala, Elara's office, a minimalist space of glass and reclaimed wood, overlooked the city that was now her playground. The black hoodie had become her unofficial uniform, a symbol of a mind that prioritized substance over spectacle. Her rise at Thorne Industries wasn't just meteoric, it was foundational. In her first quarter, she rebuilt the company's data models from the ground up, identifying an inefficiency that saved the company $18 million. When a competitor launched a hostile takeover bid, it was Elara's predictive analysis that exposed their weak points, allowing Thorne to turn the tables and acquire one of their key assets instead. Her name, once a quiet whisper, was now spoken with a mixture of awe and reverence in boardrooms. Julian Thorne, a man known for his brutal pragmatism, publicly called her his secret weapon. Her team of analysts, initially wary of her unconventional style, were now fiercely loyal. She dismantled hierarchies. Her open-door policy and collaborative approach turning her division into the firm's innovation engine. She didn't manage. She mentored. "A good idea doesn't care about your job title," she'd say, and the best ideas would flow. But in the polished corridors of the company, a shadow of resentment lingered. Marcus, demoted to a minor role after the Gala incident, watched her ascent with a venomous envy. His tailored suits seemed to hang off a frame shrunken by bitterness. In meetings, he'd make snide remarks, veiled as professional critiques. "A rather bold assumption, Elara," he would say, his tone dripping with insinuation. Elara treated his comments like background noise, her focus an impenetrable shield. His petty games were a distraction from the real war she was winning for the company. Her days were a cascade of successes. She flagged a compliance risk in an international deal, averting a multi-million-dollar fine. She designed an algorithm that predicted market trends with uncanny accuracy. Her calendar was a fortress of back-to-back meetings with executives who now hung on her every word. She moved with the same quiet confidence she'd possessed at the Gala, her power now an undeniable fact. Yet, a pattern began to emerge that troubled her. A series of small but strategic losses. A lucrative contract lost to a rival at the last minute. A product launch that was mysteriously preempted. The numbers felt wrong, as if an invisible hand was tipping the scales against them. One evening, long after the building had emptied, Elara sat under the glow of her desk lamp, nursing a cold cup of tea. She was reviewing the data from their latest failed bid, and a familiar unease settled in her stomach. The competitor's winning proposal was too perfect, too aware of Thorne's internal cost structure. It wasn't just smart, it was informed. Driven by an instinct she'd learned to trust above all else, she began to dig. She pulled server logs, email archives, and access permissions, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Hours melted away as she followed a faint digital trail. Unauthorized file access from an internal IP address, late at night. A deleted email chain with an external account mentioning a consulting fee. Her breath caught in her throat. The user ID was M.W.Wells. Marcus. He wasn't just bitter, he was a saboteur selling the company's secrets. Elara leaned back, her heart beating a steady, cold rhythm. The evidence was a digital confession. He had tried to humiliate her on a stage of his choosing. Now, she would build the stage for his ruin. As dawn broke, painting the city in shades of gray and rose, Elara stood. Her hoodie was rumpled, but her resolve was forged steel. The game had changed, and she was about to make her final move. The courtroom was silent, the air thick with anticipation. On one side sat Marcus, his expensive suit looking more like a costume, his face pale and drawn. On the other, Elara stood, not in a suit, but in her signature black hoodie, a quiet statement of her unassailable position. She wasn't a lawyer, but she had prepared the case with a surgical precision that left the company's legal team in awe. Over the past few weeks, she had unearthed every single piece of Marcus's betrayal. The offshore bank accounts, the encrypted emails, the server logs showing him downloading proprietary data just hours before a competitor would mysteriously outbid them. It was a web of deceit that had cost Thorne Industries over $30 million. Elara had presented her findings to Julian Thorne not as an accusation, but as a solved equation. He had simply looked at the mountain of evidence, nodded once, and said, "Burn him to the ground." Now, as Thorne's lead attorney laid out the final piece of evidence, a recorded call of Marcus negotiating the sale of their Q4 strategy, a collective gasp went through the courtroom. Marcus sank in his chair, defeated. The judgment was swift and brutal. Not only was he fired, but he was ordered to pay back every cent he had cost the company, a sum that would leave him in financial ruin for life. The headlines were merciless. His name became a cautionary tale of corporate greed and hubris. A year later, the Thorne Gala was a different affair. The energy in the room was electric, and at its center stood Elara. Her simple attire was no longer a point of curiosity, but a recognized brand of brilliance. She was now Chief Strategy Officer, her influence woven into the very DNA of the company. Executives who had once ignored her now flocked to her, seeking a moment of her time. "Elara, your insights on the merger were game-changing," one said, practically bowing. She would just nod, her calm demeanor a sign of power that needed no announcement. But her true legacy was being built outside the boardroom. She had launched a foundation, the Catalyst, a mentorship program for gifted young people from underprivileged backgrounds who wanted to break into tech. On weekends, in community centers and libraries, she'd sit with teenagers, her hoodie sleeves pushed up, deconstructing code and mapping out career strategies. "Your mind is the only asset that matters," she told a young girl named Maya, who looked at her with wide, hopeful eyes. Don't let anyone put a price on it but you. At the gala, Julian Thorne took the stage, a glass raised high. To the future, he said, his eyes finding Alara in the crowd, and to Alara who not only sees the future, but builds it. The applause was deafening, a genuine roar of respect. Alara simply smiled, a quiet, private acknowledgement of the journey. She had faced down scorn and betrayal, not with anger, but with relentless confidence. As she stepped onto the terrace, the city lights shimmering below, a young analyst approached her, nervous but determined. "Ms. Alara, I just wanted to say, you're the reason I'm here." Alara turned, her expression softening. "Good," she said, her voice warm. "Now show them why you deserve to stay." She had turned her silence into a symphony of success, her resilience into a fortress. Her story wasn't just about winning, it was about rewriting the rules of who gets to win. And so we leave Alara, a beacon against the skyline, her victory a testament to her quiet strength. What did you think of her journey? Did her triumph inspire you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing how these stories connect with you. Thank you for joining us for this tale of ambition and vindication. Your viewership makes this possible, so be sure to hit that subscribe button for more. Until next time, keep climbing, keep shining, and we'll see you for another story of unbreakable spirit.